that one of the problems.
That would be true. Yeah.
And I was just wondering, the way that the law reads is, if you to have an employee, that's, you know, where you have to get that wage. However, the town could hire, you know, a fix-it person for that particular building, and that knows how to do the work, and you wouldn't have to pay that.
That is partially true.
No,
We
that,
could do that.
That's true.
That's partially true.
Why do you say
We could do that. Let me finish. We could do that. However, because of the cost of the work, that fix-it guy would have to be able to provide the bonds as well. So it's got to be, you know, they've got to be bondable, they've got to provide the bonds, they've got to have all the appropriate insurances.
Let me interfere with that a little bit, because you see, when you're working as a maintenance person, you don't take out bonds, because bonds are taken out by contractors to provide for the work, to, you know, to bond it. So I would think a little more investigation. If you hire somebody, you know, most maintenance persons, you know, they'll be sweeping the floor, you know, that kind of thing.
Right.
But if you hired somebody that knew what they were doing in that respect, I think you'd be a little better off. But that's
we're not gonna debate this for hours. We have a lot of stuff to cover here.
Let me just put a thing in it.
Yeah.
Because of the type of roof it is, it takes a special roofing company to do part of it. A maintenance person is not going to be able to do it. You have a flat roof there. That's as far as I'm discussing.
I respect that, but I disagree in the sense that when you search for people that you want to hire, you consider that.
Well, we don't even have funding yet, so I mean, there's no point in talking about who we're going to hire.
I'm trying to get out of it in a way that would be, you know, respective to the cost under the circumstances. And I'm just suggesting that I believe that that is a possibility. And the other thing too is, if you hire somebody who's a contractor, of course they would have to provide a bond. If they had no employees, then there'd be no wages. Therefore, there'd be none of that problem with the law.
Yeah.
Just to keep that in mind.
All right, so the highway truck. Again, the highway is asking to do a 5-year lease on the truck, which would put it at about the same cost as what the cemetery truck was. So we're finishing the cemetery truck and then would start a highway truck. It would require debt exclusion, so there would be a tax impact. Our comments on this was that the highway department is in desperate need of new equipment and does a good job of keeping their old equipment running. This truck would replace a 1997 truck that is no longer roadworthy. The highway department is requesting a 5-year lease for this item. The item would require debt exclusion, which would increase taxes. The estimated tax rate increase for this item on a 5-year debt exclusion would be 2 cents per thousand. So it's only going to cost, it would only cost 2 cents per thousand in the tax rate. So, and again, you know, the cemetery truck is coming off, so the highway truck would come on. So we wouldn't, the net bottom line is it wouldn't really cost any more, and the highway is in, you know, dire need of another truck. Okay. Now, number 5, we have a 5.1 and a 5.2. 5.1 is the elementary school building design. This one would also require a debt exclusion. So the comment that we provided on this one is, the Narragansett Regional School District has been working for several years on a new elementary school. There is a 60% reimbursement from the MSBA available for the entire school building project. The building design is the next step in the process. The MSBA has been patient, but will likely pull their funding for the project if the design funding is not approved. This item would require debt exclusion, which would increase taxes. The amount of the item is $500,000. However, with the 60% reimbursement, the net increase to taxes would be $200,000. So the estimated single-year tax rate increase for this item would be 37 cents per thousand. So that's for the 200,000.
I had a question on this. This is what we're going to be voting on at the special town meeting on
That's correct.
Saturday.
Yeah.
So is that going to be on the annual town meeting as well?
Oh, you're right. No, this, yeah, you're right. This particular one is at the special town meetings. Yeah.
So this is something that's on the special town meeting, and this is
Yeah.
on your list of, this is not till 2015, but we are going to lose the 60% reimbursement.
No, it says
I'm
likely.
confused.
I mean, when
You're not
we
gonna
sat
wait
at
much
the
longer.
meeting, we had Ruth was there, and Bill Claybaugh was there, and we talked about it, and the discussion was that, you know, if we don't get the funding for the building design, then, you know, MSBA may not continue the project. There's no guarantee that they won't, but that's a possibility. So that's why we had this up in our number 5 slot, because it's been a project that's been going on for a long time. It is something that the town needs. Whether the town can afford it or not isn't our decision to make. It was our decision to make a recommendation, and we do feel that the town needs it, and it's been a project that's been in the works for a while. It does have the 60% reimbursement, and if it doesn't go forward, there's a potential that we could lose that 60% reimbursement availability. Yes, Luann?
As Deputy Assessor, I'm just questioning, where are you getting the dollar figures or the cents figures on how it's going to increase your tax rate? Because I have gotten no phone calls in my office.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying the estimated tax rate.
Well, that's the thing, you're going into
and
town meeting Saturday. I have no idea
And
what
again, these
your
are
overall
for
dollars
annual
are.
town meeting, except for this one. And the way I got that number was using the 13, the FY13 tax rate, and the tax levy. So taking the tax levy divided by the tax rate gives you the dollar, or what a dollar's worth of tax raises, and then you take the number that you're requesting, in this case 200,000, divided by the what it costs, or what a dollar of tax costs, to get that number. And again, I emphasize they're estimated, because the tax rate in 2015 will be different than it was in 2013. We don't even know what the 2014 tax rate is. So.
Okay. I'm just wondering where the figures are coming from, because I have not gotten any calls from the school or anybody looking for overrides.
Yeah. Yes, Will?
The only thing that the committee really had a question about on this whole thing, as far as the amount and how much per year, was the fact that our understanding is that we would have to go out for a debt exclusion for the entire amount, because it would, and we weren't sure if that would impact the taxes by $1 or whatever, because we have to actually ask for the entire amount. We only get reimbursed from the state after we have spent the money. So that's coming in later. So there's a question is, to really have to end up spending all of that up front and getting it later, because they're not going to just send over 60% of it because we ended up passing it. That was the question that we had. We didn't have a good answer for that.
Actually, Luann gave an answer to that, and so did the school. They gave answers there in emails, and to be honest, the 200,000 is already being raised to come off of that. We've already raised several $1,000s towards the 200,000. And there are people who are actually approaching large backers to try and have, because I see it's a unanimous no vote from the advisory board in an email that I got today, but we are raising funds as we speak.
We had nobody at the advisory board from the school.
There was an email that came from you that talked about the 300, 200,000.
Asking back and forth how they were going to fund, but I never,
Right.
I was going back and forth with Jeff, I think it was.
I'll have to look at that, because Ruth had explained that too, that it was really the 200,000 that would be needed, but we're actively trying to raise funds for that.
The
So it was just a
recommendation
point
from
of
the advisory
clarification,
board
that's
was
all.
based on the fact
But this
that
is,
nobody from the school came for the 2 articles at the pre-town. we were very disappointed they can end up not having that. I had already told the superintendent that we were having a pre-town meeting, and I would have expected somebody to come from the school to explain that to us a little further. Since they already had the answer and they were going to take and end up talking it later in the week. I mean, that's basically where we're coming from.
Okay.
All right, so from a capital planning standpoint, we had that as our number 5.1, if you will. We think just as equally as important is a new loader for the highway. So we have that one slotted at 5.2. The new loader, the highway department is, asking if we could do this with Chapter 90 money. So let me just read our comment here. As stated above, the highway department is in desperate need of new equipment. This item is used in many of the department's operations. The current loader will not be roadworthy much longer and will become a yard machine once replaced. The highway department is requesting funding for this item from the Chapter 90 funds. The department admits they do not like using Chapter 90 money for equipment purchases, but this item is critical to their operation and needs to be replaced as soon as possible. If the Chapter 90 funds, or if it's approved to use the Chapter 90 funds, there would be no tax increase for this item. So, again, I don't, it would probably be up to the Board of Selectmen to decide whether we would allow them to use Chapter 90 or not. But that's what they've requested. They did express that, the loader is a critical machine in their operation. They put, what'd you tell me, $17,000 into it last year, just to keep it running.
That was just to repair the front part of it.
Okay.
Nothing else. It needs tires. It's going to need tires again before winter. They're over $2,000 a piece, so there's another $8,000 to go into it. I mean, good tires will be out on the road plowing snow and all. Yeah. And some cosmetic work, the guards, the engine, the fenders, that they just rotten to pieces.
So, so that's why we had that one up at our 5.2. Again, we had the dump truck for the highway up at number 4 because Bud expressed that they really need the dump truck is really very important to them also.
That's because we took 2 vehicles out of service and they're out in the back boneyard now, so we're down 2 vehicles that normally plow.
Okay. All right, so number 6.
Those Chapter 90 funds that you're speaking about, I'm a little confused. I mean, how many, what is that supporting at this time? I mean, just roads always?
That's all it can be.
Basically, 90's only for roads.
Correct.
How much money's in Chapter 90 right now?
Well, Bud told us just a little while ago, a little under 700,
Just under
125 is committed.
698.
Yeah, so it leaves us with like 573.
573,000?
Yep.
Okay. And it's,
Yep, Dave?
I think some of the water mains have gotten some Chapter 90 money, if I'm not mistaken, along the line somewhere.
Okay.
It's not just roads and equipment.
Can I just, for Mr. Jury, on this sheet, then this is the loader, right? The loader? It's $230,000 that would be possibly needed for out of Chapter 90 funds.
that's a brand new one, right?
That's
brand new, Bud? Okay.
And that's a little high number.
Is that a propane one?
No, it's diesel.
Okay.
Runs on diesel.
With chips.
All right.
Mr. Chair, the last loader that was bid out, the one that we expected, whatnot, came in a little under $200,000. It was $196,000 and some change. That company was making a good offer on at that time, but I budgeted, I put a budget number there, 230. Devin.
Yeah, I understand it's just an estimate, I just wanted to, since he was asking, I just thought because you don't have this paper, to just give a number, that's
Yeah,
all.
and that loader's on the state bid list, so that we wouldn't have to go out to bid, it's already on.
It's already on
bid
there.
by the state.
Okay. All right, so our number 6 is was submitted by Narragansett Regional School District for the Templeton Center roof on the elementary school. This would require a debt exclusion also. So building maintenance is important. Good roofs and keys good roofs are key to longevity for buildings. We've known for a few years that the roof on the building needs to be replaced. The item would require a debt exclusion, which would increase taxes, and the estimated single-year tax increase would be 23 cents per thousand.
What's the building gonna be used for?
Templeton Center School, it's used as an elementary school.
This one is?
Yeah.
And there's kids in it now. What about the East Templeton one? There's no kids in that one, right?
Right, that was our number 3.
I got to ask you about that. What is that building gonna be used for?
The select board would like to see it being used for town offices so that we don't have to rent this place anymore.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, number 7 is again from the Narragansett Regional School District for the biomass boiler. And as requested, it would not have any impact on taxes. The item was requested as a cost reduction project that would pay for itself. The committee agrees with the concept and applauds the move towards a greener environment. However, there are some reservations that the project will not achieve the cost savings needed to fully fund the cost of the project and the operation of the system. And we base that, so I have this wrong, it should have said will not achieve. We kind of, Bill came and he did, a good job of explaining the system and talked about the cost savings from it and what they would expect to do with the cost savings. However, when we started looking at the documentation, the numbers didn't always seem to jive, and it looked like there could be not a lot of additional cost, but some additional cost. So, did you have something additional, Laurie?
At one of our meetings, Will had brought up some information that the OPM had given you with some numbers on it, which I think is on our website. I asked Ruth about that, and she said that those were preliminary numbers, which were not correct. And also the grant that is put forward for that project were also not on that sheet. So those are totally incorrect numbers. So that should never have been given out to anybody.
That's what they presented to the selectmen, and that's what we had to go by.
All right, well, I think you should have asked Ruth for the information, because the OPMs, that was kind of like a worksheet. They just kind of put something
That's
over
why I
and
said
worked.
it's a shame that they didn't come
Oh, I
to the
agree.
pre-town, because if they had that information, they could have updated it.
Yep.
And they would,
They also had an information meeting on Saturday that people could have attended, which they had information on, unfortunately. But yeah, that information was incorrect. That was handed out. So whatever's on the website is incorrect. If there is
They
anything.
need to email me new numbers.
Did you put something on the website from the
I believe
OPM?
so.
Yeah,
It was what
it's
I
up
heard in
there.
that meeting.
Yeah.
It was from her.
The OPM gave those out, and new numbers have been given based on the, for borrowing, and all new information has been given.
I don't know why she.
Well, I'll have to ask her to send it.
Yeah, you would do that.
Because we got all new information at the biomass meeting.
Yeah,
Actually, I got
she didn't
information
send it.
before that because I've been asking. If people would just email her, you would get that information. You should not do that? But it was all it's been given out, and then they got all new numbers, and, because it was just completely, it looked like it was gonna have to be paid, and it wasn't, and she was upset that he gave out that information, because it was all preliminary, and that's the reason for, the reason that we don't always necessarily give out numbers, because as we've seen, every week that turns around, we have different numbers for accounting. Nothing's right now, so it's really flabbergasting, but right now, the information that she does have is accurate. It is very accurate.
She said that it's going to keep.
Right, because they had to keep looking at the numbers and then the other grant money and, right, so.
Yeah, all right, so.
It's all, there's better information, but I'll get that to you.
So if you could ask
Yep.
her to update us with that
I'll get
additional
that.
information.
I would like to make a comment, because I did attend the biomass meeting on Saturday as well, and we were told the information was going to be on the website, so I've been checking the Narragansett District website for, since Saturday, and the information isn't there, so I'm kind of wondering what's going on. And I did email Ruth directly and ask her about the numbers. One number was that there are $100,000 over in fuel right now. And the money is coming out of other budget items from the school department. That $100,000 shortfall will be made up. When I looked at the numbers and I saw what they were based on, it looked like it was the amount of oil for the district. And I know the elementary schools aren't getting biomass. So I wanted to know if that number included the whole district, or was it just the fuel that was for Narragansett? And I haven't heard back, so I don't know about, I don't have those numbers yet, and I hope we get, the information sooner rather than
I've been
later.
told it's just that complex
Yeah,
up
that's,
there.
I was told that too. Also, I thought if, it seems like the school is actually taking responsibility for that, because they're not asking, there's no tax impact. They're not asking for a $3.5 or $3.2 million debt exclusion, so that means they can't come back to the town and ask for the money. I mean, and the numbers that are projected seem very reasonable. And right now, I had asked also that they're a minimum of $60,000, like they had just had a 20,000 gallon delivery, and they're not coming back to the town and saying, can I have that 60,000? She's not asking for that. They're taking it from somewhere else out of their budget and shortfalling themselves. So they're taking responsibility for that.
You should be asking for no more. If she's got that much money in the budget, what is she asking for?
They're taking it from other places,
Then
is
she's
what
got a lot of money in
I've
the
asked.
budget then, where is it? What's
I
she hiding
doubt
it
she
from?
has a lot of
All
money
right.
to budget.
She got $60,000 she's taking out.
We've got a question over here. Yep, Paul.
I listened to them about that the other night, and they also stated that they had to build a storage shed for these wood chips. Is that correct?
Yep.
Now, NFPA, National Fire Standard, says it has to be built a certain construction, so many yards, that building has to be sprinkled. And nowhere did I hear any cost about anything like this. And I spoke briefly with the fire chief, and he said, yes, that's right.
Yeah, I would think that their architects, though, would have included that.
But they didn't say anything. I listened specifically for that, and it goes by the yardage, number of yards of wood chips or whatever that are being stored at any one time, and the building has to be sprinkled if it's going to have, and they're not just going to bring in one truckload, because that wouldn't be cost effective.
Right. Yes.
Is it too late to, on the suggestions of the thermal situations, or thermal or solar, to help run that, where you get free heat from the ground?
Yeah, you'd have to talk to the school. I mean, that's not the project that they bring forward.
To even think about that.
Yeah, you'd have to talk to them. Okay, any other comments?
Doug, can I just say something?
Okay.
In regards
yeah,
to Paul,
sorry.
the money's for design build, it hasn't been designed yet. That's why you haven't heard or seen a sprinkler, because it hasn't been designed yet. In regards to the school, that's why. Because there's no actual plans, no actual mechanical drawings of anything yet. It's a design build is what they're asking for.
Okay. All right, good, thanks.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, then the next one, number 8, is also from the Narragansett Regional School District. They're looking to do repairs to the high school, middle school complex. Again, there would be no tax impact as requested. Bill presented it as they're expecting to save enough money from the biomass project to not only pay for the biomass project itself, but to also cover the cost of doing these repairs. And again, there's no tax impact. We really just want to present here that, these are capital projects. These are capital investments that we're making into, our assets.
What did they list for capital investments? What did they list for capital investments?
The middle school, I don't have that list with me. I didn't bring that. They gave us a list of the projects that that they would intend to do, but I don't have the list with me. I can certainly get it for you, though. All right, then so then the last item is the East Templeton School accessibility. There would be no tax impact as requested. There's really two items. There's the ramp and the restrooms. And both of these items for the handicap accessibility at East Templeton School, the funding for these projects would come from the savings of not renting 690 Patriots Road. This project would only be done provided the CPC funding is approved for the preservation work. So if we don't get the CPC funding to preserve the building, then we wouldn't be able to do the accessibility things either. So now looking at the total project list, this is, I'll just show it since I don't have copies for everybody, this is what the master plan looks like. So it basically lists the projects and then time phases it out over the, over the course of time. So the projects that we ended up deferring was the senior center fitness room, the senior center kitchen, the 1986 fire engine, the highway department's tracker, and another tracker for the highway department, and then some additional repairs to the elementary school buildings, both Baldwinville and Templeton Center. So that's what the Capital Planning Committee is submitting to the Board of Selectmen. It will be up to the Board of Selectmen to decide what projects they're going to put forth at the annual town meeting. Alan?
Doug, just a question for you. Is it possible that the department heads get a copy of that capital plan?
Absolutely.
25-year plan?
Yeah, we're going to put it on the website also. I've got to get with Holly to figure out how to do it, but yeah, we're going to put them on the website also.
Thank you.
I can send that to them too.
Yeah, okay. All right. Got any other questions for the committee?
I'd like to thank the Capital Planning Committee for doing a very thorough job. It's a thankless job, and it's a difficult job, and I know that from experience.
There is one other quick thing I would like to talk about. If you guys could look at chart 1 for a second. Earlier on in the discussion, we had talked about how we really need to make a $400,000 capital investment on a yearly basis. We understand that we're probably not going to be able to do that right away. But if you look at chart 1, this is the entire plan, the totals of the entire plan. So in 2015, we had 336, but if you look at 2016, we've already got $1.4 million slotted out into 2016. 2017, 493,000. 2018, 614,000. 2019, 707,000. So all of those years are in excess of our 400. And the reason we have this huge bubble right up here in the front is because we haven't been doing anything for years. So back to the point of where we go into the 2016 budget season, when we start having the negotiations with the departments, some of this stuff is going to have to move. I mean, it's not likely that we would ever be able to fund $1.4 million worth of capital projects in a single year. So that's what will happen with the plan as we go over time, is we'll look at what's slotted, figure out, okay, what can we push? Until we can eventually get out to a, relatively stable investment point. All right, I'll quit talking about it now.
Okay. One other
Yes,
question.
Lori?
Were we also going to ask the selectmen to put monies into the capital planning fund? What am I trying to say?
Stabilization. Capital stabilization.
That
Yes, I mean, that would certainly be a recommendation of the committee that we, put some money, whether it's, $10 or,
Right.
$100,000. We should try and put something into capital stabilization year after year.
Is that something that has to go in front of town meeting, or?
Yes. Yeah, it would have to be a town meeting
It's a
article.
2/3 vote to put money in, take money out, any stabilization account.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening to that long, drawn-out item. All right. Next item is the accessibility waiver application for East Templeton School. So you all have had an online version of that application. And I have a copy here if anybody else wants to look at it. We're basically asking for a waiver of the access ramp and the handicap restroom. The application talks about how we're trying to get CPC funding for the preservation work, and if that is approved, then we would be able to use the rent savings from renting this location to do both the restroom and the ramp. If that CPC funding isn't approved, then the only money we have would be the rent savings from here, which we would have to put towards the boiler. But in either case, those funds aren't going to be available until July 1st, and we would have to be out of this location before July 1st. So we would need a waiver in order to get occupancy of that building. So that's why we're submitting it. The reason I'm bringing it tonight is that we need to make a decision on who's going to sign the application. Do we want a select board person to do that? Do we think that should be Bob that should do that? That's really the question that's before the board is, who do we want to sign it, and do we actually want to submit it? I mean, we haven't even really voted to submit the application.
Well, I'll make a motion that we submit the application and have the town administrator sign it. I believe that this would fall under the duties and responsibilities of a town administrator.
Okay.
That makes sense. It may not have been done that way in the past, but if that's the way that we're supposed to be going forward, then we should just start now, right? And to kind of keep it all in one central place. So I agree with that.
It would make sense to me as well. So you second the motion?
Yes, sorry, second. I'm really tired.
Second, hurry up.
Sorry.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I know how you get that free, the ramp situation anyway, something that you might want to entertain. Two places actually, local 107 carpenters in Worcester do ramps for people continuously all the time. And the Job Corps down in Worcester, down in Shirley, again, would do the ramp. And then, of course, you also have Monty Tech.
Right, and again, once we have funding, we would look at those opportunities.
But I'm just saying, I'm suggesting it because, it helps school kids, 2 of them.
Yeah.
And the other one is volunteer situation, so all the cost would be is,
We're using Monty
Just
Tech
trying to
over at the
help.
senior center. Yeah, Monty Tech is working over at the senior center. It's doing a great job for us. It's doing a great service to them. And I would think we would look to use those types of folks at East Templeton as well. All right, did you guys have any questions on the application? Did you
No, I
see
don't.
any problems with it or anything?
I thought it could.
All right, very good. So,
Better have
Is there a deadline that has to be submitted?
No, we just need to submit it as soon as we can, yes. We do have to, there's this one page in here about this service thing. We have to actually send notarized copies of this to these folks. So, and I put dates in here, but change the dates to whatever.
Okay.
Douglas? So
Yes,
where
sir.
are you going to go if they drive you out of here? Right now, you're going to get a tent like they did at the school one time between the old school, Templeton High School and the field there. The superintendent came in a big army tent. He sat up there with his whole family out. Remember that, Bubsy? Pool. Huh? Sat up in the field there. Everybody lived in that.
Yeah, in July, you know, in July, we could live in a tent outside.
Remember that, Bubsy?
We're coming to your house.
What the hell do you mean you don't remember that?
Doug, who is,
Between the school and the, where
Yes.
Columbus House is?
who are you soliciting
Kate.
the waiver from?
Yeah.
Who are you soliciting the waiver from, is my question.
Right, we have to submit it to the Architectural Access Board. It's a state agency that controls handicap accessibility.
Okay, and what is for the ADA compliance is what it's.
Yes, that's right.
All right, I'm just curious.
Right, and it's just asking to waive the requirement for a ramp for the entrance and a handicap accessible restroom. And we're only really looking for a temporary waiver, you know, 1
Yeah,
to
no, I
2
just
years.
didn't know who you were. Just clarification, okay, thanks.
Oh, yes, we do. All right, so we have a motion, thank you, and a second. Any other discussion? Julie?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And yes. Okay. Well, I was hoping Bob would, I didn't realize when I asked for this next item that Bob wasn't going to be here. I've had some community folks ask if we're going to put 252 back up for sale. That I've heard that there are some businesses interested in bidding on that building again if it were up for sale again. So I would think that, you know, I know Bob at a couple of meetings ago said that somebody was interested in renting it. But if we've got an opportunity to sell it, I would much rather sell it than rent it. You know, we don't need to be in the
I think he was going to
business.
have some conversations while he was away with somebody.
Yeah.
But since he's not here,
Right.
we probably can't speak to that, so we'll have to table that.
Yeah. So again, I just think it's something we want to, you know, should maybe consider, you know, reopening it up for sale if there's somebody interested.
Can we already say, can we put this on the agenda for our next meeting? Which we have to decide we're having a next meeting, but to just kind of roll it over, not to table it all together,
I agree.
but just for today, because we don't have the
Right.
answers, but if we could do that, Holly, just like roll this one over automatically into the next one, so that Bob can address that?
Yeah, I would agree. Yes, sir.
Just one comment, I don't think it'd be wise at all for the town to get in, to become a landlord
I agree, yeah,
at all.
I agree.
So take that right off the, we will not lease it. You know, we're gonna do anything with it, sell it or keep it, but don't, the liability is there.
I agree, yeah, being a landlord is not the business we want to be in.
That building has roof trouble to it.
Bob?
Yeah, at one point, when Jeff was here, we had put the building up for bid, and there were no acceptable bids, and we had gone through the process, and it was discussed whether we could, after having done that, go through a realtor instead. Because I think we would get a little better price for it going through a realtor than we are through the bidding process.
Yeah, I don't remember all of the details surrounding that, but Bob did, or Jeff, I'm not sure which one, checked into it. And it came back that we could, but it's a really convoluted process and that.
Well, I don't think it's convoluted. I think our attorney from Deutsch Williams, Lou Ross, outlined the steps that you would have to take to have a commercial real estate broker kind of shop it around. So it can be done. You know, I don't know what Bob's take on it is. I think, you know, that's something that's going to be, we can talk about at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. How much do you want for it?
How much you got?
I'm serious, how much do you want for it?
I don't know that we can state a number.
Yeah, it has to go out to bid, so it
Yeah.
depends on what the bid
Can't
is.
state a number.
So you're saying the lower bid?
No.
Now, the town would have the right to refuse any and all bids, but, so, we would have the right to refuse bids, so. Okay, next item is annual town meeting. Opening the warrant and setting a closing date for the warrant.
Well, I believe the change in the bylaws, we need to get everything to the advisory board by April 14th.
That's correct.
So I would suggest we open it today, we close it on the 7th, April 7th, and then we're going to have a meeting. I don't know whether we're going to meet on the 7th or not, but we're going to have to discuss the articles and then post the warrant. We have plenty of time to post the warrant for 14 days, but we have to get the articles to the advisory board by the 14th.
So would we be able to meet on the 14th to discuss them? If we closed it on the 7th of April?
Close it on the 7th, right.
Would we be able to meet on the 14th to discuss them, or would we have to meet sooner?
I don't know. I think we would have to meet sooner,
Okay.
like the week of.
We have a meeting the 7th, right?
I don't know if that's our next meeting.
If they're the second and,
That's actually the first Monday. The 7th is the first Monday.
That's the first Monday, so normally the meeting would be the 14th and the 28th, but if we're not gonna, well, if we close it on the 7th, we would have everything by then? I don't.
No, I mean, we'd have to give, Holly and Bob time to put the.
Right, so that's, we could, yeah.
So if we opened it today, though, the 7th is the soonest it could be closed, right? That's the soonest it could be closed.
Right.
So then we probably would need to have a meeting on 9th or 10th.
Yeah.
Well, I think if we just open it.
Let's open it
and make
and
a
say when
closing
we're gonna
date.
close
Right.
the date and then
Work
kind
on
of
it.
work out the logistics after that.
That's all.
Yeah, I think we should just do, yeah.
All right, so I'll make a motion to open the annual town meeting warrant today
Can you beat discussion?
and I'm making a motion.
Make it a motion first.
And to close the annual town meeting warrant on April 7th at noon.
I second that motion.
All right, we have a motion to open the warrant today on 3/24 and close it on 4/7. And we have a second. Any discussion?
I have a couple of questions.
Yes?
I got something I'd like to put on the warrant, but I don't really want the town meeting to vote on it. I want to progress it to a ballot vote. And I'm not quite sure, I was reading it down at the bylaws, and I need some advisory situation here on how to do that, right?
Anything
The
that's
reason why
on
I'm
the-
asking this is because, again, if you're gonna close this as in the 7th, I have to present you with that petition, correct?
That's correct, by then. Yeah.
By then,
Yeah.
okay.
If you want to do a ballot question, I'm not sure of the technicalities of doing that. That would be something you could talk to the town clerk about.
Well, she couldn't tell me, but is it possible that if you put it on the town meeting and someone gets up and seconds it, and I get up and say I want to move it, and then someone seconds it, is that a way of doing it? And moving it to the ballot? In other words, what I want to, let me speak to what I want to do. I want to repeal LV, the marijuana situation, due to the fact is that, well, there's a lot of reasons, I won't go into every little particular, but the fact of the matter is that we need to do this. And I could discuss it at a town meeting, but, mostly it's because people in Templeton, 3/4 of them, voted for question 3, and then the chief of police came in and did this bylaw that the AG came in and did, and it's wrong. Okay, it imposes a lot more situations, a lot more fines, and so forth. And more importantly, lots of people won't come out like I do and speak about it. And they're hidden with it. They have jobs at risk. It needs to be a secret ballot, all right? Just not gonna happen in a town meeting, period. So I need to move it to that and and get rid of it.
Right. I don't know how you can raise just a ballot question. I mean, I know it can be done, but I don't know how. So you'd have to.
Well, am I correct in the procedure to give it to you on this and get it on the warrant? And then can I move it at the town meeting?
No, I think if it's on the warrant, town meeting has to vote it, and there's nothing, just because it's on the warrant, doesn't make it a ballot question. So there's some process that makes it a ballot question versus a warrant article. I don't know what the process is. Only a few people come to the town meeting, and I want this to be a whole town situation. I want to be able to, the whole town, again, right, so you don't want it at town meeting, you want it on a ballot.
Yeah, I want it on the next ballot that we do, which would be your override. Your override's got to go on a ballot, right?
Right.
So why can't this go on the ballot? And that's why I'm asking, what's the procedure so I can... How did you get the ballot? I'm racing. How did you get the ballot? Why does the ballot question, the override, go to a ballot rather? And
if town meeting approves it on town meeting floor. So we have an override question coming up on Saturday.
Right.
If town meeting approves that, then it becomes a ballot question. It has to go to be voted on a ballot.
Okay. All right.
So town meeting is the body that voted and says, okay, we think this is what we want to do. Now it has to go before all the voters in town.
Because it's a tax.
Because it's a tax, right.
Okay.
I don't know how to do a ballot question that doesn't involve money.
Okay, so could mine I'm trying to, is repealing a bylaw that really was only based on town meeting people at the time there.
And
everyone else was excluded.
Then I think what you should be able to do is bring it up at town meeting.
Okay, so I wouldn't have to get a petition. I could bring it up.
No, you need to get a citizen petition to put this on the warrant, and then it has to be put on the warrant, however you word it. Okay?
I understand.
We can't change the wording. Once you submit it, that's the way it is, and that's how it will appear on town meeting floor.
So I can direct you to...
You just submit it. You just submit it, and it's on the warrant.
I can ask.
Okay, I just... No, you need 10 signatures.
I know that.
All right.
I know that part. But what I'm getting to is I can ask you to move it, you guys, after it's voted on at town meeting.
I don't know that.
I don't know if that's the
procedure. That's the moderator's decision, right, to do it?
I mean, what you can do is the Attorney General's office has a free advice line. You can call, you can actually talk to an attorney, just tell them what it is you're wanting to do and that you want it to be a ballot question versus a town meeting article, and they should be able to direct you on the process.
But, I didn't know where else to go. I looked at the bylaws and I talked to Carol, and you guys didn't, I can't really meet with you unless I'm here, so that's why I took your time. I appreciate it.
All right, so are you looking to have the town vote at a ballot to repeal that bylaw?
That's correct.
Okay, then that's what you need to ask the Attorney General how to do. Okay?
And they have a free advice line. It's just a phone number. You call them up, and if you don't talk to somebody right then, you leave a message and they call you back within a few hours.
They do.
It's really good response.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Julie?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
And yes.
Can I just bring up one thing about the annual town meeting that I just kind of figured out today? The annual town meeting is the day/night of prom. So I am, maybe this is not the proper venue to do this, but to put it on the agenda, I would like to ask we either start the meeting earlier and end earlier. I know it's important to a lot of people in town to be with their kids. I have a senior, and it's not something that I'm even willing to miss. And I understand I'm an elected official, but I only get one opportunity. So, and like I said, we're having it at the school, everybody goes up to the common, so if we could do like even a, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. so that, parents and guardians can go home and be with their kids, and, so it's just some food for thought. So, I know we don't have to, you know, it's just something like, oh gosh.
Is it possible to have the annual town meeting on the 10th versus the 17th?
The annual town meeting is, I'm sorry, where's May? I don't know what the rules are for that, I'm sorry, I can't even like speak to that, but if it's just, I don't know, it was already set and it has to be like, is it so many Saturdays after you, so I'm thinking like May 17th was already set, but sometimes our town meetings go on for 4 nights, I don't know how long they'll go on for a Saturday, but I know that you'll have many people who will just go, so. It's just something, like I said, some food for thought. You only do get one opportunity, so.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I thought that there was something to do with that, so.
The 17th was like the first opportunity or the earliest date?
But to set a time for that.
And there was some other conflict, the 24th, which is why we chose not to.
I don't know. I don't even know if I was on that.
Douglas,
Yes, sir.
how are we coming on and picking a new administrator? You know, if we have a town, before a town election, the guy who gets elected, is he gonna step off? Just no selectmen to be on to pick a committee?
I don't understand the question.
What my question is, if Columbus gets elected, selectman, he's on the committee to pick a town administrator. Can he be on that to pick a town administrator? You just said no when it first started because somebody else wanted to get on to be on.
Oh, that's an interesting question.
It's an interesting question. We had fell up the meeting. They said nobody on it, no selectman could be on it.
Don't know, you're right.
Through the process.
Well, you
So
get-
yes, I would say that yes, he would not be
He would
eligible
have
to
to,
continue.
if we don't have, I don't know, you know, we haven't asked about like, I think they just had their first meeting the other day. I did hear that we have a lot of potential candidates, so I don't know the answer to that, but he would have to resign from that committee if he gets elected, because we said no.
I'm just saying, if we get.
Yeah, we haven't heard from that committee yet, so I don't really know where they stand. I don't view, we haven't heard anything.
I talked to Bob the other day and he just said they had had one meeting so far.
Well, maybe, can we put that on the agenda too for to ask for a report? Or can we send out just an email asking for an update from that committee that could be sent to all of us?
I don't know if they have an update, they just started.
Well, I mean, they must have looked at something. They couldn't have all just met and looked at each other. I heard they had a lot of applications. I don't know if I heard that wrong or, I think, yeah. And what is their, maybe do they have a time frame for when they want to, you know, get those things done? Like a timeline? Thank you, timeline.
Good questions. Ask my questions.
It's a great question.
You ask my questions. That's what I've done.
Yep, do they have a timeline?
It's coming quick. Days. 7 weeks.
All right.
And the next agenda item is me, and to be honest with you, I've been sick, so I've not done anything with it since the last time. We have such a big budget crisis, like that's really been a primary focus for me too, and not this, so.
All right. Okay. All right, well, that's the full agenda.
I think we can change it to May 10th, but I
You
want
do?
somebody else to read
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
That would be
Well,
in
that might
the
be
next,
good, yeah.
the next agenda items discussing the date for annual town meeting. Could we have that on there too, Holly? Do you have that written down?
Yes.
Because Julie's
A
saying we
date or
might be able to
time or
change the
whatever.
date. We would have to check with the school though.
Yeah.
Could Holly at least call and ask if that date's available? If you're saying we could change it, Julie? Like, just to know, I mean, if it's not, we can't even entertain that
Yeah, I'd
then.
have to check with the town clerk to see
The-
when,
okay.
if it could be
Yeah,
changed.
the town clerk,
And the
the
school,
moderator,
and-
the
yep.
attorney, the school, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That was fair.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have to?
I'll bring you a coffee.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Julie?
Yes.
And?
Yes.
And yes. Thank you, everyone, for coming and sticking it out. Thank you, Lori.
Not bad, great.
Any event, the board